if like I was 70 and there was this thought that, hey, shit, I can get like this amount, and then now you tell me it's still okay, but I'm not getting that amount, I think I also would feel like, hey, how long more am I going to live?
You said, personally, I'm a bit disappointed. If everything they do is correct, then why would the minister need to stop you?
Oh, okay. Correct.
You say, if you everything say good faith, then why government need to stop you?
That's a damn good question. Well, so for them, maybe July to September last year was like, we can plan holiday this year, Then October, Edwin Tong come.
Yeah.
Like, bro, what the hell, man?
Yeah. Time is running out. This is your final chance to nominate a loved one to be part of a very special SG60 project that we're doing. Singapore is celebrating its 60th birthday, and Folklore, our audio service, is marking this milestone in a very special way. We'll be interviewing 60 Singaporean seniors over 60 years old to capture their life stories for our Words of Wisdom project. But interview spots are disappearing fast. Your parent, grandparent, or that wise uncle could miss their place in history if you don't act now. Here's the best part. It's a heartfelt one-on-one interview done remotely. No travel, just their life story recorded from home. Nominate them right now at the link in the show notes. And don't forget, the first interviews are already live. Hear them now at the same link. But hurry, we're closing nominations soon. And now, on to the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man. How's the week, man?
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting because this is the first time I felt in a long time, the feeling of going to work every single day at a fixed time you start and then you clock off at a certain time, right? The first time in many years that I felt it, and that's because we're performing every evening at the Happy Ever Laughter show,
and we have to report at a certain time. The show starts at a certain time, ends by generally the same time.
Kind of wear a uniform to work.
So you feel this is a throwback to your corporate life?
No. I mean, it's not so much about the corporate life, it's just the regularity of doing it, right? Where by a certain time you just need to report somewhere and be there.
But you don't feel like our podcast 3 times a week is kind of like that, right?
But we come in and I mean, it really depends a lot on what's being discussed and how our brains are processing it and all that. So I feel like that one still depends a lot on the brain up here. But that, a physical performance requires your body to be there at a certain time, to hit a certain cue, to follow, work as part of a team and everything and do that. So I think it's a bit different from what we do where, we are largely, we control the pacing and the creative of everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like the complete opposite of what I remember of the corporate world, because we are still doing our day jobs right now, but at night we got this thing. So to me, this feels like a performer, like an artist. Day we, do all this kind of stuff, but at night go perform.
Yeah. It's a nice feeling also.
It's a nice feeling, but it's damn tiring. And I always feel like, but you perform that tiring, man. You just, but I think that the fatigue comes from just, getting into the mindset, and I mean, we're not seasoned performers. We've been performing for years, right?
Yeah.
So after every night, I'm tired but wired. So it's a interesting experience, lah.
Yeah, and no matter how many times you do it, there's always a little bit of nerves before you go out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and for us also, this is our first Happy Ever Laughter, so big nerves, and never a moment where I feel okay, just dial it in, right?
Yeah, I know the other comedians also, because I've asked all of them at different points, do you still feel nerves? They say, of course, feel nerves. I know Fazri, he said before he goes on, he often blanks out.
Yeah.
And to me, that sounds ridiculous. But then he goes on the stage and then he gets into the groove and everything comes back.
I see.
So I mean, we still got how many? 3 more shows?
3 more shows.
3 more shows.
The great thing is a lot of listeners have actually come for the shows already and enjoyed it a lot.
And we know that because, I mean, when we come out, there's the nice cheer.
Yeah.
So to everyone who came, thank you so much. To everyone who's coming, thank you so much. And it's going to be a fun time. Time.
But the news cycle carries on.
Yeah.
Before we do that, what do we have to tell people?
That if you're new or old to the podcast, if you enjoy these long form episodes, we also put out, vertical extracts and shorter form content, pictures, Insta stories on our social media. So you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, where it's as bustling as ever. That's always great. All the links are in the show notes.
And if you want to work with us, email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just check out ministryoffunny.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So today is 25th June. Yesterday, 24th June, the latest chapter in a long saga happened. And that is the shareholders meeting for the NTUC Income shareholders.
Yeah.
Where a big part of it was focused on the scuppered income Allianz deal that fell through last year. And I mean, I guess we haven't been able to find the exact transcript of what was discussed. We're just basing it off what was reported in the news
Yeah.
and some, off the cuff interviews with the shareholders because media apparently were not invited.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, did you even know this was happening?
No, but there was a little bit of I think there was news that the NTUC, the income chairperson, was stepping down. That was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, June 9th.
I think I read somewhere that was in anticipation of this AGM that they're going to have sometime this month.
Yeah, and that was Ronald Ong, who is the chairman, who still, I think, chaired this meeting, but he will be stepping down to take on a bigger role in NTUC Enterprise, or NE. So basically, I mean, they kind of explained a bit more about what happened. And even before that, the day before, the MAS themselves on 23rd June put out a release in response to Tan Swee Chia's 3 open letters. Tan Swee Chia, the former CEO of NTUC Income, I think from 2007 to 2013, he was very vocal about his concerns around this deal, and he wrote 3 open letters addressed to the MAS, the chairman of MAS, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Trade and Industry Gan Kim Yong. Between a few months last year. We even had him on our podcast where he gave a lot more details on why he felt strongly against the deal.
Yeah.
And they went on to kind of debunk certain points that he put out. And I mean, okay, just to recap this whole thing about NTUC Income and Allianz.
Yeah.
I'll try and summarize. But basically, NTUC Income was corporatized in 2020. So it moved from a social enterprise to a full-blown corporate. It was given certain one allowance by the government to carry over certain capital resources and not return it to the social enterprises of Singapore, which generally cooperatives do. Then in July last year, there was a bid by Allianz to buy a 51% stake. And after a lot of discussions in Parliament, they were talking about the merits of it. There was some details that were sent to MCCY, and on October 14th, Tong Tong, previous minister of MCCY, came in and announced that the government is blocking the deal because they were made aware that $2 billion worth of capital within NTUC Income would be dispersed to shareholders within the next 3 years, which was part of the plan. So it was a bit weird because they got an exception to carry this over from a social enterprise to a corporation. But then now, after being having been bought out, like a majority stake bought out, they were going to give that to the shareholders, which felt like contradictory to what they promised when they were given the exception. So, I mean, that's generally there. What other details important to note?
I mean, and subsequently, there were people who came forward to oppose the deal, right? People who used to head up NTUC Income, like Tan Swee Chia,
Tan Kin
Lian, and even Professor Tommy Koh also, right? And they framed the discussion very much as NTUC Income's the social mission of income insurance was being looked over, right? So there was quite an emotional reaction from people who were observing. And even in the most recent election, it became an issue, a talking point, because of Tan Swee Chia's open letters. But the fact that Ng Chee Meng and Gan Kim Yong were, Ng Chee Meng obviously being the head of NTUC, right? And Gan Kim Yong as the head of MAS during that period, right? So that also was being questioned, right, by the open letters in Tan Swee Chia. So it has its reverberations beyond just income insurance shareholders and all.
And even from the time between July and October, there were many questions in Parliament because it was revealed that what MAS approved was the financial prudence of this deal.
Yeah.
And I think they were made aware quite late that there was this plan to have the capital extraction happen, but they thought it would be good to pass the info to MCCY. And MCCY found out very late that this was going to happen, and then they blocked it. So I think a lot of questions, especially from Leong Man Wai and He Ting Ru, were about how was this approved in the first place, or how did the process go? Because it feels like the ministries are not talking to each other. And also, one circumstance of this deal being blocked was they had to amend the constitution to allow MCCY to have a say in deals involving cooperatives, which was rushed through Parliament because of this. Because they needed to do that to allow MCCY to block the bill. So I think He Ting Ru's point was that this is a bit weird. You're forcing us to rush through a bill, and I think they abstained from the vote. But the bill was passed, and the deal was blocked. So
the deal, that means the bill was passed, right?
Bill was passed, the deal was blocked. So I know during G 2025, Ng Chee Meng, he himself said that there will be a review that's being done, and we need to learn to do better and stuff like that. Of course, there was a lot of backlash towards that. But it feels like the review culminated in the statement on 23rd June by the MAS, where they, mentioned that the MAS shared the capital reduction plan with MCCY while the transaction was still subject to regulatory approval. So basically, the caveat they're saying is that it was still being discussed, and the words that were used in Parliament was, pending approval, and that the business plan is separate from the financial prudence assessment. Then the government acted to stop the transaction, which is what the government is supposed to do. So at the shareholders meeting, they kind of clarified it. But what stood out to me was the fact that it feels like a lot of the shareholders were pissed off that the deal didn't go through. Based on the reports. Which you can understand, but I don't know why for some reason I was thinking the shareholders are going to be damn pissed. But it makes sense why they're pissed off. Were you kind of expecting that?
Actually, that's why I did find even this article in the Straits Times, how they framed it, right? They started with a quote from one of the shareholders. "We just want our money. Income insurance shareholders disappointed at failed Allianz deal," right? And you can read further into it, but they're very, it's quite emotive, the way they describe. One of the shareholders saying, "We are already so old," said the wife as she clutched her husband's hand while they joined a snaking queue surrounded by other elderly shareholders. So very, very emotive when they talk about how much the shareholders are disappointed.
The picture also just show old people.
Yeah, it's all old people. And they also pointed out that, the Ronald Ong, the chairman who is stepping down and who's going to be replaced by a lead independent director, Joy Tan, both received applause from the shareholders in attendance, right? So there seems to be a sense, like what you said, that actually the income shareholders are very disappointed that this didn't go through. And I think it's interesting not only because it runs maybe counter to the narrative that we've been hearing that, Singaporeans are up in arms that this happened to Income Allianz, all that, right? But maybe it just really points to why this whole issue is also so complex. Because, remember when Tan Swee Chee came on and spoke to us about it, a big point that he was, going on about was how income shareholders have been unfairly diluted, right? The share they had been diluted. And then I think and this was subsequent, this was before corporatization. What they had was diluted, where basically NTUC came in and bought a lot of shares at par value, right? So in essence, the current income shareholders all had the proportion of their shareholding diluted. And I think Tan Swee Chee was saying that this is something that's really unfair, and if you're an income shareholder, you would be unhappy, right? But what we're seeing here is that there are shareholders who, I don't think even the dilution of what they own is a big deal. The bigger deal is that they're not able to cash out on a pretty good price for their shares, right? So it just comes down to who is really unhappy about this deal, right? And who is actually supporting this deal? Because if it sounds like, if it's painted that the income insurance shareholders were actually supportive of the deal, right? And they're old people who are clutching hands, standing in queue outside, then what have we done, as a people to deny these old people of their retirement windfall, right?
Yeah. I mean, it might just be if you're a shareholder, you're unhappy. If you're not shareholder, if you shareholder, you're unhappy the deal didn't go through. You're not shareholder, you happy the deal going to go through.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you go on Reddit, right, which I would imagine skews younger, probably the NTUC shareholders all are not on Reddit. A lot of them are fucking scolding these people, no?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, that couple, right, apparently they have 7,300 shares, and at par value, that's 73,000.
Yeah.
But if they were able to sell it at like $40, which was what I think was estimated to be the share price when it's returned to the shareholders, they will get like 300,000.
Yeah.
People are saying, hey, you shut up. You get all these dividends the past 20 years. Now you can get 73,000. You want 300,000. This is why the older generation is screwing up the country for the younger generation. And there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I mean, if like I was 70 and there was this thought that, hey, shit, I can get like this amount. And then now you tell me it's still okay, but I'm not getting that amount. I think I also would feel like, hey, how long more am I going to live?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't blame the people who feel that way. But yeah, the way it's reported, I also read this, I was thinking, shit, if my mama is there waiting at 4 p.m. Some more Star Vista is not aircon, right?
Yeah. It is.
No, but the waiting outside.
Oh, outside, yeah.
Yeah, sweating, then just old people, maybe some people like just standing there. Quite sad lah.
Correct, yeah. And this article serves to reinforce that feeling, right? That
Yeah.
very, very cham, these people.
Yeah.
But I mean, to that point about, the people on Reddit who are criticizing these old people for, like, not, for being upset that they didn't get a bigger windfall, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they got dividends, but at the same time, I guess to them, it's like when they first invested in the shares at par value, they did not know that what would eventually happen to the shares, right? And for them, they sort of just invested in it as like, it's maybe something prudent, right? Backed by the Singapore government. Won't screw us over, right? But they did park some money in those shares, right? And if there is a chance to get a windfall for their loyalty and their continued faith in NTUC Income, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reward at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the rainbow, right? They would be upset that they did not get it.
Yeah.
And I understand that perspective, right? It's not it's not like they forced through the corporatization or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But they were expecting, for a short while expecting a windfall from everything.
Yeah.
And I can understand that frustration from there. But the part I think people also are upset is that there didn't seem to be more answers about what actually happened in the whole decision process within the NTUC Central Committee and everything, right?
Yeah.
Other than more reiterations that they did everything in good faith and just didn't know of all these things and it wasn't yet approved and all that,
But
right?
you think the people at the meeting cared about that?
That's the thing, That's the thing is the people in the meeting expressly, we just want our money. That's what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
And that's the main thing on their mind when they enter this meeting.
Yeah, which I guess, I mean, last year, I know when we recorded a podcast, both of us were damn pissed. I think the more we read, the more we're like, how the hell does this happen? But when I speak to other people who don't run a podcast talking about news, they're like, I mean, if it needs to be acquired, okay lah, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
So then it feels like, are you not getting it? So I can imagine these people, like if I were to tell my uncle or auntie who's not like in their 70s or 80s, hey, do you know your shares were diluted?
Yeah.
They'd be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
So then, but then if you put this idea in their head that, oh, you can get $40, now
We can make like $100,000, $200,000.
yeah. So then that is the annoying part now. Now they have a benchmark, no? Because part of the discussion apparently was what are the other options to help us dilute our capital. I mean, liquidate our shares, lah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's not publicly traded, right?
Yeah.
So I think the transfer of shares is a process, but it's not on the public market, lah.
Yeah.
You can't just sell it like you would regular stocks.
Yeah.
So there is an element of being locked in. So for them, it sucks a bit. But then now, if they're thinking, oh shit, can I just maximize my shareholder value? You can't blame them. But on Reddit, the sentiment, at least on one thread was like, oh, these people don't care about the future of Singapore.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, hello. Don't be so naive, lah. You tell me you wouldn't want to make 4 times what your shares are worth.
Yeah. Correct.
Right. And then, of course, that is on the back of, rising cost of living and shit like that. But this thing, Ng Chee Meng said there's a review, because if it's just an AGM that is not open to media, just shareholders, feels like the public needs a AGM of their own also.
Yeah, correct.
Because if you just do something with your shareholders, of course they also want to maximize their value. But it's the people outside who feel, I think, they have more concerns about the due process.
But to be fair, it could also be how the media covers it, right? Because the CNA article about this, titled Proposed Capital Reduction Plan Was Not a Guaranteed Outcome of Income Allianz Deal, Income Chairman. So there's a section where they spoke to an anonymous shareholder who said that the representatives could have done more to explain why the government saw the need to intervene in the deal. He said, personally, I'm a bit disappointed. If everything they do is correct, then why would the minister need to stop you?
Oh, okay. Correct.
He said, if you everything say good faith, then why government need to stop you?
That's a damn good question. But it's true, and I don't think it was answered, right?
It's not answered, yeah. So this shareholder was, he spoke to the media anonymously. But I show you, maybe also there were differing perspectives in that article, in the shareholders meeting that were not covered in the Straits Times version.
That's true, because now it's almost painting that, the deal got blocked, but it was the government who blocked it. If you also want to think about it that way, you're not getting $40 because the government blocked. No?
Yeah.
Why the government block? Don't know.
Something wrong.
Yeah, something wrong. Singapore is like that, right? If you are chopped that, you did badly at school, or you did something, or, the recent case of academic fraud.
Yeah.
The reason why it's such a concern is because in Singapore, labels like that stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in this case, the government, why you stop?
Yeah, it's like
tong tong.
It's like POFMA, right? If you establish a law that allows you to say that this thing is not true, this thing is not true, then if you don't POFMA, it means that whatever is true.
It's true.
That's what people come to expect already.
Yeah, if the government step in, means it's wrong.
Yeah.
How can it be right? The government is never wrong, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a bit weird, And I think, of course, you read some of the alternative media, they are more hard-hitting about why this still has a lot of questions. I don't know whether Tan Swee Chair will put another open letter out.
Yeah.
But looks like this thing is not going to end yet, I think.
Not yet. But I mean, talking about Tan Swee Chair being rejected for a meeting of Gan Kim Yong, or a senior representative of MAS, right? What do you feel about that?
You mean the question about why he never said anything?
No, I mean the fact that they rejected a meeting with him. Because people online are saying wow, look, they won't even take a meeting with an ex-CEO of NTUC Income. What do you think? How you think they need to be accountable to the citizens like us?
I mean, to be fair, Tan Swee Chair is not in a position anymore. So it would be nice if they have a meeting, but I also feel like if they decide to not have a meeting, they're not obliged to. You?
Yeah, because I mean, his open letters, came at quite opportune times during the election as well, right? And very expressly questioned Gan Kim Yong's involvement, and then, linked it to Gan Kim Yong in Punggol, and Ng Chee Meng's involvement, and linked it to Ng Chee Meng's Jalan Kayu thing. So, would you hand on heart say that those letters had no political agenda to it or anything like that, right? I mean, it very expressly calls out Gan Kim Yong and Ng Chee Meng, who were both in very contested parts of the election. And, it wasn't expressly about, he framed it as part of the NTUC thing, but I can see why for them it's there was, maybe they saw it as there was a political agenda to that open letter, right? And if I acknowledge it now, it's legitimizes it in another way, right? Especially an open letter like that, when you acknowledge it like that. So if there needs to be more discussions that need to take place, maybe if you are a representative of NTUC or MAS, you wouldn't want it to be so public, right?
Yeah.
You would rather have it be not reported in the media, or not as a direct response to an open letter kind of thing.
But then, so were you surprised when you saw the MAS statement that it's comments by the MAS in response to Mr. Tan Swee Chair? There was an official statement on the website.
I mean, I just feel that, like if they do meet with him, it kind of legitimizes a lot of what is said in the open letter already, right?
But doesn't this statement already legitimize it? I was surprised that I would imagine they would put this out saying, certain concerns that have been raised. The moment you point it towards an open letter means that, open letter got weight lah. Which I was surprised by. That they kind of acknowledged and really were on the nose, which, I think it's a good thing, but I was surprised that they were, because to me, this legitimizes the open letter enough lah.
But the rejection of a meeting is not a good look also lah, right?
Yeah.
Maybe what it could have been is to just keep it as like, this is the response, right? But you can't also, I think you have to reject the meeting request lah, right?
Yeah.
I think that one no choice lah. Like what you say, they don't have to because that he's not in some official capacity of anything, right?
Yeah.
But the moment you reject the meeting request, it's not a good look lah.
Because let's say when I was single, right? I asked Mila Kunis out.
Yeah.
Right. If she doesn't respond or anything, then it's not on the radar. But if she rejects me, I'm like, for a moment there, even though it would have been an immediate no, for a moment she was like, this person exists. This person exists.
Your marriage proposal when you sent it into Mila Kunis.
No, like even my wife, right, when I met her on the app, if I send a message and there's no response, means like I'm not even on the radar,
Correct,
Yeah, but this one they responded.
I think you got a point.
Even when you shut down, you legitimize it.
Yeah, but I would assume that because of the income shareholders meeting, they probably needed to put something out there, right? So maybe they waited till the very 11th hour, right, to do it. They didn't do it during the election. They didn't do it after the election. They waited right before the shareholders meeting.
So don't know how many of the shareholders meeting even read this. They're like, I don't care lah. I just want my money.
They're still making their way up Star Vista and everything. No time to go and read all this lah.
Well, so for them, maybe July to September last year was like, we can plan holiday this year, Then October, Edwin Tong come. Like, bro, what the hell, man?
Yeah, and you can imagine, like what we said, like old people, they'll be very shocked by this. Like, I was about to get this windfall, but the government say that there's something wrong here. Well, what is going on? I trust the government, but I was also expecting this windfall.
But they still clap for the head of NTUC,
according to the article lah. So I don't know. You see, that's the thing. Like the media wasn't there. Everything are second-hand accounts, right? But it does feel like there was so much public interest in this that there should have been. I mean, if you really want to be open and transparent about it, like the media should have like a seat in there as well lah.
Yeah, that's why. But I don't think that will happen. So hopefully there is more info about it. See, this is why Parliament needs to sit soon, man. Have to wait till September, no?
Yeah.
Then when I was watching that video of Leong Man Wai asking the question last year, I was like, not going to have him anymore.
Well, you got Andre Low and Eileen Chong.
No more Man Wai.
And then now, we also got Pritam Singh turning up in podcasts, just not Singapore podcasts.
Yeah, correct. What the hell, man? So, I mean, okay, like when we saw it, I mean, a lot of people have been sending it to us. And I mean, I respect Pritam as a politician, but I feel, right, the first podcast you go on, a Malaysian podcast, I feel like, wow, hey, why not? Why you never support local, bro?
Yeah.
Why, Pritam? You already said on our video that you will come on our podcast after GE. Then the first time you go Malaysian podcast. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to read that lah. Because, like having an aversion to, or maybe there was because of the case and everything, it was quite sensitive to maybe speak freely on a podcast and everything lah. But I would say that our podcast landscape in Singapore is pretty is growing lah, right?
Yeah.
And you have your choice of which podcast or whatever that you want to go on, right? But to bypass all of them first and then just go straight to Malaysia and do it, just a bit strange, strange decision.
And I mean, even without considering the content of the podcast, because from what I've heard, it's a good podcast, the podcast, they are quite big and reputable. But then, like how last time Chee Soon Juan got so much flack for putting out all his videos to the US saying, help us with our dictatorship.
Obama. Just asking him to, please, shine a light on democracy in Singapore.
Yeah.
Like that,
so when Pritam goes to overseas podcast, he's not going to be talking about his favorite football team or something like. It's about Singapore politics. And it just feels, then you become one of those who go outside of Singapore to complain about Singapore. And I just feel like as a branding thing, it rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I would love to ask Pritam to his face when he hopefully does come on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I can imagine other people also having the same sentiment.
Why the reticence to appear on podcasts? Then
Yeah.
why, if it was such, I mean, it's anticipated, there's no denying it, right?
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. So
And
it's
even not us,
anticipated.
other podcasts also. That's fine. Singapore podcasts, right?
Yeah, exactly. So why not, do it with a Singapore podcast? Of your choice, of your choice. We're not even saying talk to us first or anything,
Yeah.
Whereas what we're asking is like, how come the Malaysia podcast was the first stop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it just reeks of like, you go there to complain about Singapore.
Correct. I mean, I would like to be generous and give
Yeah.
benefit of doubt. Maybe testing ground, like to quote Drake, all the
Like
other
open
people,
mic, that's
everyone
open
is
mic,
practice lah.
open mic.
All the other people are practice. When you're thinking about the main one that you want to go for lah.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah lah. So weird.
But anyway, there's the weirdness is not only happening in Singapore or the region. There's a lot of stuff brewing over in the Middle East as well, right? Which, a lot of people have been trying to grapple with the last few days, even ourselves included. And that's why we thought maybe it's time to just talk about this on Yalla But.
Yeah, correct. So it is the ongoing crisis that is unfolding in the Middle East, specifically between Israel and Iran. So, I mean, we are recording this at 1 p.m. on 25th June, Singapore time. And from what I understand is that they are abiding by the ceasefire at this point, but it's very precarious. And it's almost like Iran saying, hey, Israel, we will stick to it if you don't do shit. And Israel saying, hey, Iran, we will stick to it if you don't do shit. Because yesterday, when Trump declared the 12-hour ceasefire, he proclaimed it to the world that, the ceasefire has happened. It's a great day. This is the end of the 12-day war, which he also proclaimed. But I don't know, when I heard that, I was like, is this real? Because I immediately looked at, has this true ceasefire been acknowledged by Israel or Iran? And I couldn't find anything on Iran's part. So I felt like, is this just Trump just jumping the gun again and taking credit? And true enough, I think an hour later, Israel bombed first.
I think Iran apparently one missile.
Correct, one missile.
Hit Israel,
Then Israel went all out. Right. Then it just escalated. Yeah. To the point that Trump swore on the news last night.
I think in what do you call a doorstop interview before getting on Air Force One.
Correct.
What do you call a doorstop interview outside a plane? I don't know. But he just said that they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Correct. And he said, "Do you understand?" And he walked off.
So those people who complain about us using vulgarities,
go and comment.
You go say you're the leader of the free world is using vulgarities. We're just quoting him. That's all.
Correct. So I mean, okay. I think what has been confusing is maybe like how the hell did it reach this point, and like, did you know much about the Israel-Iran tension? I mean, we know there's always tension. Right. But the thing that led up to June 13th.
I mean, we all know that there's tension, and Iran, Israel, Iran is like the axis, right, of a lot of the movements that are against Israel, like Hezbollah and Hamas and all as well, right? So there's a lot of tension between the countries, decades of conflict and everything, right? But I think one thing that a lot of people were very shocked by, or at least were discussing, was this so-called strike by the US, right? Was it even legal by any terms, right? Whether internationally legal, or was it even legal for the US president to order such a strike on, another country in a conflict that, supposedly it was not going to get into and all that, right? So that was something a lot of people were quite curious about, and I was I'm still trying to wrap my head around that also, right?
Yeah, but to give more context on what led to June 13th, which was Israel attacking Iran. So basically, I mean, Iran and Israel used to work together actually up till I think 1979 when there was the Islamic Revolution. Then after that, Israel became like the common enemy amongst all the Islamic states.
Yeah.
And Iran right now, I think they have funded Hamas in Palestine. They have funded Hezbollah in Yemen.
Yeah.
They have funded other groups in Syria. And Israel is like in the middle. And then, the supreme leader now, he's been in power for 36 years, I think. And I mean, even though they say they have a fatwa against developing nuclear weapons, I think it was in the 80s where they started their nuclear program.
Yeah.
And there's always been this tension. So in 2015, Obama got Iran to sign the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which is basically for the UN Security Council and Germany to manage Iran's civilian nuclear development at a limited level. So in some way, curbing their development. But then 2018, Trump said that's the stupidest deal ever, and he pulled out. And then in 2020, Trump ordered the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, which was a very senior official. And then Iran was like, we're not going to abide by this comprehensive plan of action again. So apparently by 2021, they were enriching uranium to 60% purity. So basically, to develop nuclear warheads, I think you need like the purest form of uranium. And apparently, it's like damn hard to enrich uranium. But the thing that led up to this June 13th was there's this international nuclear watchdog, and they announced in May 2025 that Iran had amassed 409 kg of 60% pure uranium, and that was higher than what's required for civilian uses. And it was the first time in 20 years that Iran kind of defected. And Trump and the White House gave them 2 months to do something about it. And then the IAEA found something again. And then the 2 months ended on June 12th. And then the next day, Israel was like, okay, we can't take any risk. The US has given them chance. We be preemptive, and they whacked Iran. And that started the barrage. And then the US went in and did their stealth bombing. But that led to that. So this whole nuclear proliferation in Iran has been a big sticking point for Israel. Because I was thinking, hey, how come suddenly June 13th Israel can just attack like that? I still think there's a lot of controversy about whether that's illegal or not. But it was off the back of the 60 days that the US gave Iran.
Yeah. And what's making things even more interesting or confusing is that even within the US Republican Party itself, right? There are people who are, very against US involvement in this conflict between Israel and Iran, and have turned around and sort of criticized Trump. Used to be people who used to be very pro-MAGA supporters have turned around and criticized Trump for, dragging the US into a conflict that it doesn't want to be part of. That's because I think Trump campaigned on, no more wars, no more getting these big conflicts for the US, right? So this seems to be the direct opposite of that. Like, in fact, it's almost more emphatically getting directly involved in something, right? Even beyond like Russia, Ukraine, where they were giving weapons to the Ukrainians. This one is like they are directly executing the bombings themselves. Right?
And I mean, if you hear the way the US executed the bombings, right? Because you hear that 3 nuclear facilities were bombed. I think about 100+ aircraft were involved. There was a decoy. It was the longest B-2 bomber mission. And the B-2 bomber is this super stealth thing that cannot be detected. And they just went, I think submarines launched missiles first, then the other aircraft put like holes in the ground, then the bombers just delivered the bombs, and they just no troops on the ground and just came back and returned. And it's damn scary. And apparently those bunker busting bombs, only the US has. So, I mean, if Trump wanted to show that, we're the US, don't fuck with us, that's damn scary.
Damn scary,
It's damn scary. But then, at the same time, like, where the hell does this leave us at this point? A lot of people have been saying this is going to be a start of World War III. Who knows, man? Who knows? But Singaporeans have started to be evacuated, right, from Iran. I think there was one Singaporean guy who was in Doha visiting his grandchild, and he saw missiles that were going towards the US military base in Qatar. It's nuts.
It's quite crazy. I mean, but just referencing what you're saying earlier, the military operation was quite staggering, quite something.
The US military operation.
And you watch the brief about it, and they talk about how they flew 2 decoys on that direction of the world, and then the other planes flew in the opposite direction
And
to avoid surveillance.
no
and all, yeah.
comms, no.
Yeah, no comms. Yeah,
The whole time they
For
cannot
18
have
like
comms.
18-hour flight, right, or something.
Yeah, with
It's
100 plus
crazy.
aircraft, then I'm
Yeah.
like, holy shit, no
Yeah,
comms.
no comms.
You watch Top Gun, you know, like everybody's like, comms, so no comms
Yeah.
because it'll be detected.
So there was already a submarine there launching like missiles, and then there was like planes that came in before to sort of like clear the area.
Yeah.
And yeah, the bunker buster bombs themselves, the size of it is crazy. These are 30,000 pound
So about
bombs.
15,000 kilograms of that.
Yeah, they need to be carried by the B2. Only the B2, that particular B2 bomber can carry it. And apparently it's meant to penetrate like 200 feet of like concrete, and then you can drop one after another. So it's like hammering one nail in after another to go deeper and deeper. And then it goes in and then it explodes.
And it's the same hole it has.
Yeah. So that precision, I mean, it's really that that Top Gun Maverick, that scene of like, someone's got to fire a missile to open up the hole first, then we shoot the missile in. It's literally that kind of thing. So it was, I mean, not even a military junkie or what, just the scale and the precision involved is quite scary. Yeah.
And Trump will love that shit, right?
Yeah.
But then, then again, it comes back to the question, why should Singaporeans care? Why? Why, Terence? Why should we care?
I mean, it's right. But right now, the scary thing is that not even as Singaporeans, but just as global citizens, who maybe don't want to see another world war break out, right? I don't know what's the truth anymore. That's the thing you're hearing, Trump is literally even contradicting some of the things his national intelligence people are saying. He's contradicting CNN reports that, actually not all the nuclear facilities were taken out.
The Pentagon,
apparently, like some people who were briefed by people in the Pentagon talked to CNN, right? And CNN reported, then Trump and his, said that's not true, and they obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. And then Iran themselves, also strangely, when they launched a counterattack to a US base in Qatar, apparently they informed the Qataris that was going to happen, like, hey, we're going to be bombing the US here. And then Trump even thanked them for giving advance notice. So I was like, what is going on? Is it like some big wayang or something that is going on between the countries where, okay, I just bomb you a little bit here.
Just to show.
Show, very big, powerful thing, big briefing, through social posts, everything. Then you also bomb me, but, you tell me first, then I can evacuate everyone, no casualties, blah, blah. Right. And then, it's just this very strange thing that's going on. And the things I can't tell who's telling the truth anymore. And then I believe the Iranian authorities are also telling the people that, they had a very proportionate and powerful response to the US. And now this ceasefire has been imposed on Israel and, we win. So everyone's declaring themselves the winner, right?
Yeah.
So it's just this strange dance going on that, it's just, everyone's just confused.
Because if you listen to interviews with Iranians on the ground, right? I mean, some of them said, they say, I was born in the 80s and my whole life has been conflict.
Yeah.
My whole life has been war. If you look at pictures of Iran in the 60s and 70s, right, it looked like a European country,
Yeah.
So they say they're conflict. And while they don't like the current regime, they want it to change. They don't want it to be so extreme. Having Israel just preemptively bomb them and then the US come in, then they're saying we can't just sit quiet, right?
Yeah.
So in some way we want a retaliation. And I think the current regime, from what you'll probably see some reports that they have to retaliate because they also are kind of, I mean, the context is the past month or since Gaza, since the Hamas attack, Israel has actually attacked a lot of the other Muslim countries.
Yeah.
Right. And they are all allies of Iran. So Iran, you can imagine they're like, okay, how much do we want to lose?
Yeah.
In some way it's uniting the countries, but I mean, Israel and the US, their army stuff is damn power, right?
Yeah.
So for Iran, that's why maybe they have to be like, okay, I don't want to waste too many missiles. I just need to show.
Yeah.
You help me out, bro. Help me out, bro. So yeah, exactly. This political theater, right? You really don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
Because even earlier in the year, Tulsi Gabbard, the chief of defense,
I think National Intelligence.
said Iran is not developing nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Trump said she's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so much contradiction even within themselves, their own party, their own administration. Contradictions between what Trump is saying and the media is saying.
Yeah.
Contradictions in terms of what the Iranians are telling their people versus what Trump literally said that they're informing them of the bombing.
Trump swearing on live.
I don't know, man. It's just
Holy
this
shit.
strange thing because, yeah, we want to talk about this because everyone is hearing about all these news and all that, but it's literally every day there's some new piece of news that contradicts whatever you heard the day before.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to get a handle of it.
And I mean, I was just trying to find like analysis or reasons why Singaporeans should be confirmed. I mean, the main thing is the oil prices.
Yeah.
That might fluctuate, which will affect everyone.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the stock markets.
Yeah.
And all that. Then, apparently, previously when Israel or people have sided with antagonizers of Iran,
Yeah.
apparently Iran has a very strong cyber warfare division.
Mm.
And there have been attacks around Asia whenever people voice out, they're supporting the US or Israel.
Yeah.
Then, of course, trade around the Middle East. And if the US gets involved, who knows what China and Russia are going to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if they get involved, then Singapore is again like, hey, come on lah, guys. Who do I side with now?
Storm is coming.
Storm.
Changed world.
Oh yeah. Expect another video of Lawrence Wong sitting down in his office.
Yeah.
The new world order and all that.
But I mean, but more viscerally, there are Singaporeans who are stranded in Qatar right now, trying to find a way home. There's a story of a man who, I think he was visiting his son
in
or
Doha.
something in Doha,
Yeah.
right? And trying to get home to Singapore.
The one who saw the camera.
They're literally watching missiles fly overhead and all that, right?
Yeah.
So there are Singaporeans who are also stranded, right?
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's
crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the world that we live in today. But aside from that, back here at home, we're much happier because we have a strong community of people on Reddit and all who are constantly commenting or analyzing our podcast. So what is your one Shiok comment?
The same one Shiok comment again.
No, not necessarily. Go ahead.
I mean, if you have yours.
You go ahead with yours first.
I mean, okay, then mine is the update to the last one Shiok comment, which was another comment by Sarasti11, which is the share of voice analysis from episode 679. So basically, for people who might be new, we had this, off-the-cuff discussion about what percentage breakdown our airtime is between the two of us. Terence, just proclaimed 70-30. I was more like 60-40. A very hardworking listener did analysis on episode 678, and it was about 60-40 lah. With some notes that I'm more emotive, I'm more like personal, I'm more self-centered, while Terence comes in with logic and reasoning and all that, which I refute. But on the latest episode, the percentage is now 57.8 versus 42.2, and the interpretation, Harish leads mostly from personal storytelling, emotional and reflective tones, initiating and navigating larger topics. While Terence contributes systemic breakdowns on policy, fairness, regulation, responsive commentary and framing, meta-level critiques, and humor. So, okay, I would say that's why we are complementary. The only thing I will take issue with is that two things. First of all, the responsive commentary. Okay, so I'm serving the ball and you are responding. And the second thing, humor. Hey, what is this? Okay, Terence, humor. I mean, okay, definitely, but I also feel I also make jokes, right?
I think it's the ranting lah. People can't look through your anger. They can't look past your anger into finding the humor.
No, I do all the setup. Okay, I do all the setup, and then you come in with punchline and take all the credit.
Hello. I mean, no man, this one is
It literally says the natural rhythm remains. Harish leads the narrative. Terence structures the insight.
No,
I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
That's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
That's why I always let you give your ChatGPT summary of everything at the start.
Fuck you lah, okay?
I see you hard at work. ChatGPT, give me a summary of all the news.
I severely refute. To summarize, right? Anytime you hear me summarize and give context, I never use ChatGPT. Okay, it's all the multiple tabs. Multiple tabs. Pulling all the info and putting it together. It might sound like ChatGPT because it's so seamless lah.
Yeah. Not today, but sometimes people are like, hey, how Terence only use one phone like that to do the podcast, and Harish got a laptop with like 70
because I lead the narrative. Then you just respond.
No. I mean, my point is, I say, okay lah. I mean, I think let's give Harish the time to do that do that narrative, leading on narrative, right?
Giving the context of, what happened to before June 13th and all.
But
and then you respond.
No, but the real value add as people that we give is analysis and critique.
If
and
a
humor,
comedian just goes up and says punchlines with no setup, nothing will be funny.
It'll be that funny.
Nothing will be funny. Nothing will be
Just
funny.
laugh a minute, laugh a
Nothing. If you
minute.
prepare all the ingredients but you don't put it in the oven, it will taste like shit.
Yeah.
So
But
that's my one comment,
your job will be replaced by AI one day.
Oh, is it? Is it? We see lah. We see.
Oh, man.
What about your one Shiok thing, man? One Shiok comment.
My one Shiok comment. Okay, I mean, one Shiok comment is about on Reddit, a discussion about our podcast about home-based food businesses, being critiqued, right? And I think one of the comments are quite interesting because we're hearing from both sides. Some people who say that, those who complain probably did not have a neighbor or a friend who knows a machik selling homemade ice popsicles, right? Everyone kind of knows someone who makes otah or something in their house, right? And that's part of the kampong culture. But there are also people who kind of critiqued what we were talking about, saying that trying to compare what we are, our podcast industry versus the F&B industry, and literally quoting Neptune era, see, you're beneficiaries of newfangled industry trying to defend your industry from regulation, right? And so I was saying that, Terence's argument that we could say what we did during GE 2025 is because we didn't take government funding, hence regulation bad, seems to be muddying the waters between two issues, regulation and funding. You could be a well-regulated industry player without taking government or anyone else's funding. So that's the critique, right? I see the perspective. Don't fully agree because I do think there's a bit of a straw man argument in how they framed what I was saying, right? Because I'm not saying that we don't have any regulation at all, right? It's just that we are not regulated like radio players. There's still restrictions. There are always restrictions on what we say. We cannot say racist and incendiary stuff and all. It's just that I oppose being regulated like how radio is regulated, because radio as a platform is different. The way it's delivered to people, the way it's literally embedded in our airwaves already. Podcasts, you don't want to listen to us, you don't have to listen to us, It's not out there. You want to listen to us, you have to come look for us, right? And if you're unhappy with what you listen, you can just shut it off. But the thing about radio is that it's always there. So there's a reason why it needs to be regulated. You can have a 80-year-old man with a radio that he had from 1960. He can still listen to radio broadcasts, but you can't say the same about our podcast also.
Yeah.
So I do... I appreciate that people are having different takes on this issue, and they might not agree with our analogy of it, but I do feel that, cannot also just sort of box up what we're saying to regulation is bad. We're not saying regulation is bad. We're saying we don't want to be regulated like these ancient industries, right?
Yeah. Because even, the last line, you could be a well-regulated industry player without taking government or anyone else's funding. I think that is a bit of a very blanket statement, because it makes it seem like starting a business and reaching a point of scale where you don't need to rely on external funding is damn easy. Because you think about it, for radio, yes, there's more regulations, but they are embedded in our systems, and there's a lot of perks that come with it. If you're starting a business on your own, to me, it's kind of a trade-off. Like, it's why people work in an MNC, get all the insurance benefits, or leave and take the freelancer route, even though there's more risk, but you got more control over your life. So as a small business, there's already so much stuff that we are sacrificing because we are trying to carve out our own niche. So if we are being regulated the same way, it feels a bit odd. And I think that's sort of one statement a bit... there's more nuance, I feel. Yeah. They did caveat in going to say something that the Yalabat team probably wouldn't like. I wouldn't say I wouldn't like, I just disagree.
Yeah, I disagree.
Because they still took time to put the comment down.
Correct,
so cheers to that.
I like this kind of comments. And, I like it also when our community also responds. Right?
And
because I did see that, did I say that just because we don't take government we take government funding, regulation is bad or what? I did listen back. No, we didn't say that. I think we were very specific that we should not be regulated like radio, because radio is a very different platform, and they get funding and they get to do a lot of different things, right? But if we get funding, we will be regulated in certain ways, and we accept that. I think we accept that, right? Yeah.
But cool, man. What about your one Shiok thing?
My one Shiok thing is actually this a video by Mark Rober. I think he
New one.
new video.
Oh,
Yeah.
sick.
Oh, did I talk about this previously?
No. Is it very new?
Yeah, it's quite new. It's quite new.
Okay.
Where basically Mark Rober, he does a very, very cool video where there is a kid who just recovered from cancer. And he wanted to throw a birthday party for this kid and his friends. So he built a roller coaster in his lab. So he built an indoor theme park in their office. Yeah, so they literally built a roller coaster, and because there's sponsorship from a Disney cartoon or something like that, there's this, in that Disney cartoon there is a swing that is rocket powered, like a swing that just keeps going like that, is rocket powered. And he went through the whole process of building a swing that you can stand on, and then two rockets just throw you 360 degrees in the air. So it's pretty crazy, how he shows the setup, and they used artificial snow to build a snow slope inside his office. So yeah, it's just a very nice thing, and it's sponsored content, but at the end of it, you walk away like, wow, that was a nice feeling.
Wow, solid.
Yeah.
Mark Rober, man. One video every month, right? Essentially.
I believe so. Well, his videos are so much work. You can't possibly be doing every week.
And I think he said he has planned the next 2 years of videos already. Because they're all very big scale.
Yeah.
My one Shiok Thing is a new series by this YouTuber called Ryan Trahan, who went viral in 2022 because he did this 30-day series of surviving on 1 cent a day in the US. In the US. And that blew up. I mean, now he has like 20 million subscribers, but 2 weeks ago, he started this thing called I Visited 50 States in 50 Days. And every day, he just makes a video about a different state. And he's also raising money along the way. So he's raised almost like 1 million already. I think that was a goal, but then now he's made the goal 2 million. And every video is getting a lot of traction. And why I like this is because, I mean, after the GE bus, where in some way we were doing Singapore in 8 days. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Sembawang versus Tampines, it's not as different as like going from Louisiana to New York.
Yeah.
But it just feels, if we can take the Yalabat bus abroad, work with like the tourism of a certain country, tourism board or something.
Yeah.
And just take that bus, how epic would that be, man?
Yeah.
And
so actually, what's his point of visiting the 50 states in 50 days? Like, what's the purpose behind it?
To raise money.
To raise money for?
Let's see.
St. Jude or something. St. Jude is Children's Research Hospital.
Yeah, correct.
But I see, what's the inherent, what's the theme of visiting these 50 states? Like, is it just like a travel video kind of
his series are always like, I tested 1-star review hotels or services, weird and cool hotels. So I think it's just a format where he wanted to raise, it's almost 1.5 million already.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he has a website about the whole thing. I think it is to mainly raise money.
Okay.
Because even the website is on the domain of St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
I see.
So, I mean, he has a map on the page, kind of like, what we did.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, you look at it, you're like, hey, shit, man.
Yeah.
There's a video, there's dates.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God. So, if anybody is listening from a different country, happen to work in a tourism board, knows people in different countries who would like to, showcase stories of that country to Singaporeans, we would love to chat.
Interesting. And this was one, last time he did that
the penny series,
about
1 cent a day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not trading up, just 1 cent a day. But part of every day would be like, okay, with this 1 cent, how can I get by?
I see. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, yeah, man. Cool, man.
Wow.
Cool.
Nice. Okay.
Awesome.
So, we are
done halfway through the week.
Halfway through the week, and more than halfway through our Happy Ever Laughter show as well.
3 more shows.
3 more shows. Catch it if you haven't had a chance
You
to.
can still get tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can put the 20% discount in the link. It's only for today's show, and which probably by listening to this will be done, and Thursday show. Friday, no discounts because, hopefully it's a full house.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool, man. Awesome.
Cool.
So remember to follow us on social media, follow us on YouTube and Spotify. And if you want to work with us,
email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just check out ministryoffunny.com.
Sweet. Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to y'all soon.